that, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 9 of this season, coming to you today from Bathurst. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Well, Charles, we head off to this absolute menace of a track. Bathurst is not one that is forgiving, regardless of what kind of car you're running around it in. So I have a feeling in these rather tough to handle Formula 4s, these racers will have a rather tough race to handle in their own regard.
Yeah, absolutely. This track for me gave me night terrors on many occasions after attempting to run 12-hour races here. It is a very, very difficult track. One of the for I would say more of a road course than a street circuit. It's a pretty demanding track, especially when you get on the mountain. So it's something that's going to be very interesting. I think it can be a good race, but the potential is much higher than normal that we could have some major incidents.
Yeah, bring up a good point there. This is technically a street circuit. You can run around these roads if you just so happen to find yourself around this area in real life. Our slow motion broadcasting colleague, Mr. J.R. Gregory, actually went here for this past year's Bathurst 12, and I don't believe I'd probably ever go down there because my loudmouthery is barely tolerable in the United States, let alone abroad, so I'm not sure how that would go over too well. Still in the midst of qualifying right now, a lot of time left to go, but before we go off into this qualifying session and talk about what's going on right now, I think we'll take a look at the championship point standings heading off into this, the 9th round of this championship. We've had a lot of storylines up to this point, but the main one in Spec 1 over recent weeks has been the rebound of Daniel Tufts. He's off the back of 3 straight wins, has 5 on his total thus far this season, and after winning the championship last season, after not scoring a single win, he looks to kind of have a reverse of that. Not very consistent throughout season 3 of 2025. Felix Samoas has certainly been the consistent force, as despite not having a whole lot of wins, and actually, here's a nice little fun fact for you here, Charles. He's yet to start one of these races from the pole position in Spec 1, but despite that, he still has 2 wins up to this point in the championship and holds on to the championship points lead. 705 points is his tally as it stands right now. Daniel Tufts in second at 635. Mikey Pollard in P3 at 624, with Ed Buchanan and Michael McConnell running at their top 5 in Spec 1. We'll take a look at Spec 2 now, where Jason Shen has been the top of the top throughout this season. Jason Shen finally returning to victory lane after a streak of not very good races after he didn't win for 2 weeks straight. He won at VIR last time out in a rather odd way as well. It wasn't a spin and win, it was a wreck and win. He broke off one of his wheels and still managed to get the checkered flag there. Jason Shen up in the front of Spec 2 with 552 points, his tally as it stands right now. Andrew Love slotted in second at 356. Paul Jackson in third at 303. Ada Allen in fourth at 265, with our very own Mr. Joshua Wilkie running at your top 5 in Spec 2. That's how it looks over there. And Charles, it's looking pretty good in the Masters class for Antonio Reese, ain't it?
Yeah, pretty good. He's off to the races once again. Antonio, 594 points. Very sizable lead over Alan DeGassis, who's putting up a pretty good fight, to be fair, but just can't quite get enough high results strung together. Stevie Ray sitting there in third, only 1 point ahead of Jeff Welker. Jim Brewster in fifth. Maddox, Monty, Toms, Cathcart, and Nelson round out your top 10 here in the Masters class. So, yeah, it's Antonio Reese show once again. And is doing a great job. So we'll keep an eye on him today. Once again, this might be a wild card race as we're on a very demanding track.
Yeah, it is super, super demanding as well, and I was touching on this a couple of moments ago. It is technically a street circuit, and as we get farther along in this track, as much as it certainly doesn't feel like it, it still has that it has that street course sort of feel to it when you're running around here. At the top end of the track, though, you've got a lot of houses, and as our SMB colleague, Mr. J.R. Gregory, has said, oh, what he wouldn't have for some keys to a house in Bathurst.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of keys, let's talk about our keys to the race today. So as we said, no room for errors on the mountain. It's just basically, it's Long Beach elevated. There's just no place, no runoff for you to survive an incident into the wall. Second, you do have the 2 long straights here between 1 and 2 as we're looking on board now with Ed Buchanan coming down that front straight. And then you have the long straight coming off the mountain that takes you back around to the start-finish line. Finally, like everything in Australia, this track will try to kill you. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but if anybody needs to understand everything in Australia trying to kill you, just start looking up plants and animals there, and that'll explain it really quick.
I'm pretty sure if you ask some people who aren't too big of a fan of Marmite, they would say even the food tries to kill you in Australia. And
I mean, we were talking about the track tips before the race, and even the weather will try and kill you.
Yeah, that is a very good point in the winter down here, down under for this race. And let's do an onboard lap with Kevin Adrian as he heads his way down into turn number 1. This is hell corner. Can be hell, especially at the start of this race. A little bit of shifting in the road as they head your way off through there, but super vital to try and get a good exit out of there as you head your way down the mountain straightaway. I say down the straightaway, you're going up the hill, then down the hill, then up the hill, then down the hill. A lot of elevation change here at Mount Panorama. But as he crests the top under that gantry right back there, He's going to head his way off into another challenging bend. This is quarry corner of turn number 2. It is really fast considering the sort of corners that you have around this racetrack, and you got that curb on the outside that can be a killer. This is turn number 3, heading off into the cutting section, up the hill, trying to manage that oversteer. You can see the sideways snap and a tap of the inside wall. That's a problem with this top end of the track. No room on the outside or the inside. That's turn 5 into turn number 6. This is Griffin's Bend before we head off into the real tight and twisties throughout the top section of this lap. Man, Panorama feels like 2 racetracks baked into one. You got those flat out sections, and then you got the tight and twisties, and we're in the midst of it right now, about to crest the hill into McPhillamy Park of turn number 10. That inside curve can be rather forgiving. That outside one certainly cannot. You're either going to hit that and just skateboard your way into the wall, or you're probably going to spin off that and auger your way straight into the inside wall. Now, heading all through the slalom section, the tight and twisties, talk about a real challenging section of racetrack here in these Formula Fords, having a saw at the wheel to keep it rolling. This is Forest Elbow of turn number 18. Want to avoid that outside Falcon tire barrier and try and keep some momentum rolling as you head your way onto the Conrad straightaway. A fun fact for all of you tuning into this broadcast here in Slow Motion Broadcasting today, this Conrad straightaway used to run from there all the way through to the final turn of Murray's that we'll talk about in a couple of moments. Back in 1986, though, they added in this section here, a menacing chicane, the chase, heading off through turn number 20, the fast kink, now going down the gears, setting yourself up well through the brakes. He's going to go and into turns number 21 and 22. Keep that momentum rolling. Maybe a chicane, but it's still rather ominous. And then you got one more flat out blast before you head your way down into Murray's corner of turn number 23. That inside curve may be bad, but that outside one is the one that has always caught me out. I caught the sawtooth curb on the outside of that corner. And also pay attention to the inside, not necessarily the curb, but the pit entry on the inside there, as just about the most evil chicane that I think exists in the entirety of global motorsports.
Yeah, I think you may be right, and that will play a factor into the race today as well. Is that pit entry line is not a straight line; it is as twisty as the rest of the track. And correct, Ron. Can you think of another? Corner or track, a named part of a track that's named after a failed part on a car? The connecting rod straight, the Conrad straight. I don't know of any other place that has named their one of their straightaways or corners after a failed part.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now. If we did start to name sections like that, there's an Air Force base out in the midst of Lincoln, Nebraska that should be named Tyrod Square. I'm not sure how many people I've shown that video to. I know my dad has shown it to me a lot. He shows that video to relatives to explain the weird stuff that comes out of my brain damage from a karting crash. But yeah, the more you know. Getting to the end of this qualifying session, though, 30 seconds left to go. Sean Doyle holds on to the pole position as it stands right now. However, Daniel Tufts right there to pounce as well. Only about a half a tenth between those two racers. And there is Tufts right now in that number 1 machine heading his way. Oh boy, heading his way off into turn number 2. My voice nearly died there for a second. I'll try and collect myself and get my bearings straight, but Tufts has one more opportunity to try and get a time on the board. Jörg Mani, it looks like he's going to round off his qualifying session as a fellow Masters racer and Masters pole sitter. That's Antonio Reese smacking the wall coming out of turn number 18, Forest Elbow into the Falcon wall. After doing the Spot 24 show that was sponsored by Falcon Tire on the iRacing platform, I have had to ditch the Philadelphia accent whenever I say that.
Yeah, I've hit that Falcon wall more times than I care to mention. Reese obviously setting the pole time for Masters, P4 overall. Jörg Mani in P9, second in class, and then Stevie Ray, third in class in P13. And we got a new name, at least for me, Max Gamble, sitting there in P7 as our Spec 2 pole sitter. Jason Chin in P10 and Josh Wilkie in P15, and that's your top 3 in the Spec 2 category during quali.
God, what I would not give to see Max Gamble decide to go for an off-the-wall pitch strategy in this race. The jokes would be plentiful, but nice to see some new names coming in here into the Weekend Warriors world as we approach the end of Season 3 of 2025. And for the final few weeks of this season, well, I'll let you all know that today's broadcast, along with the rest of them here for this season of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, has been brought to you by Sim Racers Group. They're the organizers of the Formula 3 and Formula 4 series that you can catch on Wednesday and Tuesday nights respectively here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Some absolutely fantastic people, and we have seen some of our own when it comes to the Weekend Warriors run in their races, and some of the Sim Racers Group people run in these Weekend Warriors races as well. And Charles, you were actually on the call for both of the SRG shows this past week. I haven't got the opportunity to call one of the Formula 3 broadcasts. However, I was the producer for week number 1, and there's some absolutely fantastic people. I'll tell you, the Weekend Warriors, fantastic, but those Sim Racers Group F4 and F3 races are just a super, super duper fun racing as well.
Yeah, they really are. I did get a chance with our colleague J.R. Gregory on vacation. Got to sit in that hot seat for a couple of races this week. And Formula Ford is just fantastic racing. It's their kind of their intermediate. They do have, I think they have a Formula Ford, their entry level series. It's not broadcast, but that's kind of where they start farming their drivers to move up. But that F3 series is amazing, and the just the ability of the drivers to adapt to that car and then just get better week in and week out. The mid-pack battle last week was just fantastic as we were at Road Atlanta. And, of course, we've got a couple of really good drivers in there that seem to be dominating the win column. However, the midfield is showing improvement week in and week out, and it's a little bit closer every week. It's been great racing.
And as I alluded to a couple of moments ago, some of our Weekend Warriors stars in the form of Jason Green and our old buddy here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, Chairman Meow, Mr. Adam Thompson, showed up in some of those early F3 races throughout the season. Actually grabbed win number 1 for him at Imola a couple of weeks ago, and I say a couple of weeks ago, all the way at the start of this iRacing season back in June. I'll tell you, this is, I'm trying to think now, I think my 11th season as an iRacing commentator, and it's gotten to the point now where all the seasons start to blend together. I also think that this is show 264 for me this year, so everything's blend together. I have no perception of time, and I also struggle to speak English. My English is not my first language. I'm from Philly. My first language is cursing. My second is sarcasm. But to get this race underway, though, we can take a look at the starting grid before we get off into this 40-minute long race here today. And it's going to be Sean Doyle, the Aussie behind the wheel at the number 74 machine, going to start this race from the pole position. He came kind of close to winning the championship last season. Let's see what he can do in one of the first times we've seen him thus far here in Season 3 of 2025. Your reigning champion of Daniel Tuss will join him on the front row. It's going to be Felix Samoa starting alongside Chris Cash, making up row number 2. Antonio Reese and Edward Buchanan will start this race in 5th and 6th on row number 3. Row number 4 is going to see our Spec 2 pole sitter of Max Gamble, the Canadian behind the wheel of the 277 car, with Jay Ray starting alongside in 8th. And that's Michael McConnell in 9th, with Jurg Monty rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, Jason Chen, our Spec 2 championship leader, starts in P11. Juan Garcia will start in P12. Kevin Adrian starts 13th. Stevie Ray starts 14th. Josh Wilkie will start in 15th. Peter Maddox outside of row 8 and 16th. Graham Hunt starts in 17th. Bob Cohn starts in 18th. Alexander Gorson starting in 19th. Paul Jackson rounding out your top 20. The rest of the list, Jeff Wubker starting in 21st, Russ Telker starting in P22, Jeff Browning starting in 23rd, Maurizio Naselli starting in 24th, John Toms starting in 25th. Does not look like John Toms is on the grid, and Maurizio Naselli did not set a qualifying time. I mentioned this before we started the broadcast. I don't know this is the track I would want to do a back-to-front challenge. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I feel like trying to do a back-to-front challenge here at Bathurst is like trying to drink boiling hot tea with a face full of lidocaine. That's not going to work out rather well. Probably going to end up with some second-degree burns as well. Thankfully, not too hot here at Bathurst for round number 9 of this championship. Entering this race, looking at 66-degree Fahrenheit track ambient temperatures with 81 as the track temperature. So not too hot. It is the winter here in Australia, but just because it is doesn't mean it's still not going to be burning hot. But ready to get this burning hot race up and rolling for round number 9. The green flag is out and the drivers are on their way. Sean Doyle getting off to a flyer. Look at Felix Samoa's getting off to a good start as well. Daniel Tusk getting chewed up and spat at as they head their way down into turn number 1. A hell corner can be hell for these racers. Let's see who's going to give it hell. Heading off through there, looking at some side-by-side racing right behind. That's Juan Garcia and Kevin Adrian, I believe, duking it out as here comes a squab. That right there is Daniel Tufts and Felix Samoa's battling as they head their way down the mountain straightaway off into turn number 2 in a couple of moments' time as they go 3 wide. Further behind, these racers giving each other a hell at the start of this race.
Yeah, so good start. Nobody dropped off. So we've got, everybody clean and green to start the race. Who's that Josh Wilkie on the outside there in the grass? Just, 3 wide early. Probably not the best time to go 3 wide as we see Tufts just sideways already coming through the cutting.
Yeah, so already starting to see these racers get that back end a little bit wiggly. I'll tell you what, of all the racetracks where you want some tires to cooperate with you, I would say that Bathurst is probably high up on my top 10, top 5, top 3, and top 1. This is a sort of track where if you have cold tires, you are going to be skidding around like nobody's business, and you are going to be absolutely terrified for it. There's no question or shadow of a doubt about it as we see the racers heading their way down from the top of the hill at the front of the field. It is still Sean Doyle leading this race over Daniel Tufts in second. Felix Samoa is in third. As much as the battle for the lead is still going to be rather intense, I think that battle for those two in P2 and P3, that has championship implications as well. Samoa's, he's been running good over the past couple of weeks, but Daniel Tufts has really kicked on the Hyperjets, kicked on the Cuisinarts as of recent in this season, looking for his 4th straight win and his 6th of the season. And even with the consistent form that Felix Samoa has been on, he may need to beat Daniel Tufts, not necessarily to hold on to the championship lead because it's still rather comfortable at the top of Spec 1, but just try and keep that momentum muted for that racer who's been on fire as of late.
Yeah, absolutely. As this is, for Tufts, this is where you want to be if you're going to try and get the championship, is you want to be in front of your rival. So he's done that so far. He's managed to hold him off, and if he can get in front of Doyle before this is all over with, try and give himself a little more separation. As we're on board, I see a couple of cars. See a new car off coming out of the final corner. I think that was Graham Hunt is on board, and that's Jeff Browning. So Jeff Browning having issues coming out of that final corner. I thought it did look like that maybe Graham Hunt dropped down the order as well as Juan Garcia, who's already towed to the pits.
I think Peter Maddox also caught a falling anvil and all that as well. Let's see, as Graham Hunt, we follow him in that 117 car. 3 cars going off there and 4 of them stacking up. I think that was Peter Maddox caught up at the epicenter of all that. Juan Garcia went off. Kevin Adrian got a piece of that drama as well. I think that's what the deal was, and Peter Maddox and Juan Garcia have both towed back to pit lane. Jeff Browning, a sympathy spin in the midst of all of that, is currently slotted P22 with Graham Hunt down in 21st. I will draw attention to this. See, usually I would go through the approval committee when it comes to all this, but the person in charge of keeping the commentators on the straight levels pretty much me and Mr. Wilkie, and I don't think he has a problem with me abiding by my own rules. So I do a broadcast of a top split Formula Ford race on Monday afternoons, and it's been nice to see some of the crossover between the officials and the weekend warriors. Chris Cash, a driver that I really first got to know as one of the competitors in the top split official side of things. Very good racer behind the wheel of these Formula Fords, and proving that right now, slotted in P4, which may not seem too spectacular, but that's P4 around a track as menacing as this one with 23 corners, which I would probably say is the highest of all the tracks we're visiting this season.
Yeah, it's going to be right. It's going to be up there for sure. And I'm just going to, after we reviewed that, the one car that managed to get through all that mess in the final corner, Mauricio Naselli, he's up 11 positions already, running in 13th. Josh Wilkie up 4, so he's having a good start to his race as well. We won't mention too much because the commentator jinx is strong with Josh. So we're back to the lead here. It looks like Tufts has taken the lead over Doyle.
Yeah, so Daniel Tufts getting that move done, heading down the Conrad straight away off into the chase. So nicely played from Tufts to jump into P number 1. He wants to try and build a cushion, try and break away. This front pack that we've got going on right now, Charles, is a massive hornet's nest. You got the front 2, then you got the 2 cars right behind. But outside that, that's a bit of a wiggle and a moment there for Bob Cohen. He's gone off the track, heading off through the final turn. And Alexander Gorson has also had a moment as well in the 621 machine. He went off, but Bob Cohen went off too. He smacked the wall. He's actually picked up a meatball flag. I saw him go off the track as he headed his way down to the final corner as we saw that moment from Gorson. That's Cohen, the Masters racer, I believe making his Formula Ford Weekend Warriors debut in that 932 car, goes off the track. An easy mistake to make, to be sure. That final turn is such a menace. It's a surprising menace. It may not seem like much on paper, just being a simple 90-degree left-hander, but I have always had my problems heading off through there.
Yeah, it is kind of anti-cambered, so that makes it a little difficult. But yeah, you're right. It shouldn't be as difficult as it is, but there we are. It is that difficult, and you see many cars off in the dirt there into the barrier coming out that final corner.
Whoa! Okay, we got some side-by-side racing here with Michael McConnell and Jason Chen. You can tell that was close because I sounded like a tornado siren running there as they headed their way off. I believe that was through turns number 8 and 9 that they were going side-by-side through. Side-by-side through the top end of the track. I think, honestly, Charles, there are a few sections where you can go side-by-side. It's the Maunz straightaway and the Conrad straightaway. Outside of that, you are probably absolutely horrified to find a racer attempting a move on you at any other point of this racetrack.
Well, I will say one thing for sure is you will lose time trying to go side by side through some of those sections coming up and down the mountain. Skyline, you can get a good run through there sometimes and get a move done before you get down to the dipper. But yeah, as a general rule, when you're in that really tight section, you probably don't want to do that. But it was nicely done, and both cars survived, which is the important part. As they're back there now, only they're 2 seconds behind Wilkie running in 10th. And they've got Naselli on the charge. He's gained about a second and a half or so on those 2 cars over the last lap or so.
And there was also a swapperoo involving Felix Samoa and Daniel Tufts. So Samoa is jumping his way up into P2 and setting the fastest lap of the race in the process of all that as well. Well done there as we follow. There's Felix in that very nice looking car. I gotta say, very nice paint schemes that we've got up and down the grid here in the Weekend Warriors world, and doubly so, we've got some great racing going on between these two. Again, championship implications with this battle. Tufts and Samoa's squabbling up as they head their way up the hill, now back down and into turn number 2 of Quarry Corner. Look at Tufts trying to run the high side. He gets that move done. Samoa's going to back out of it, understandably so. That is a battle with a lot of implications. Again, championships as well on the line between those two. It's also bragging rights as well. To finish on the podium here at Bathurst can be a really rewarding thing. I will say, though, in all that battling, they're still keeping Sean Doyle honest, which I'm a little bit surprised about. They have just been staying there in the drift, even with those two throwing haymakers at each other. Speaking of haymakers getting thrown.
Yeah, that's Russ Telker on the inside there. Managed to get it back over to the proper line before the cutting as he was battling there with Stevie Ray and Paul Jackson. This is a battle for P16 through P19, so you see these cars together. Stevie hanging on to that 16th position. But yeah, I think those cars up front are essentially, as we're now looking at Monty, Gamble, and Wilkie, our Masters second place, and our top 2 in Spec 2. Really tight battle there. I think that the draft is just enough. I was kind of watching Tufts there coming up that long straightaway, and he had just enough room to get the run coming out of the first corner and get the move made before the second one. So I think that really helped them not lose time to the leader.
Ooh, as here we go. That's Daniel Tufts looking to get the move done on Sean Doyle. Down into the chase and through into the lead goes Daniel Tufts. A nice move there. These front three looking to break away. That pack of the front still very tense as Paul Jackson dropping down like a stone thrown into upon Russ Telker, also picking up a meatball flag there as well. I think there may have been a little bit of extracurricular drama going on a little bit farther behind these racers as we take a look to see that move from Tufts, just utilizing that drift and working it out well. But the drama was heading down into force elbow for Jackson and Telker. Unfortunately, there from my perspective, the tree's getting in the way. But
a bit
damn
different
you,
camera
trees!
angle here. Yeah, as we see Telker still on the inside, and Paul Jackson on the outside hits the Falcon wall, and there's probably other F words being used inside the cockpits of those two cars. As you saw, nowhere for Telker to go there, as he just basically jumps the back of Jackson's car, and both cars now with a meatball will have to come in for their pit stop, where the 10-minute mark feels like they could probably make it. It's going to be really close, but probably can make it the rest of the way. I was just about to say I think we're coming up on the pit stop time, because I don't think you're using quite as much fuel here as you are at other tracks. I think there's a lot of lifting and coasting involved here that will probably save you an ounce or two here or there on the track.
With that moment between Russ Telker and Paul Jackson, there's some F words being said for the both of them after that bizarre moment. I've got an F word to say as well. What the? Felix Samo is still running in P2 as we take a look at another replay of that moment. There's Telker running right behind Jackson. Yeah. Pop into the air. He's gonna go. That is not a good view in a Formula Ford. You don't need to be a rocket surgeon to know that.
That's true. Yeah. You don't want to be looking at the sky or the ground directly in front of you. That's never a good thing. But you're just getting back on the throttle there coming out of the elbow, and it's just so easy to get caught up with somebody making a mistake in front. So, no harm, no foul, obviously not intentional for either driver. Obviously Jackson didn't want to hit the wall, and Telker did not want to run into the back of him.
And now, before anyone says in the YouTube chat that it's rocket science instead of rocket surgery, there was one time many moons ago, my dad posted something onto a mechanic's Facebook page to try and stump people. It's basically stump the band, but for people who make it seem like they know what they're talking about when it comes to working on cars on Facebook. And some guy responded saying, yada yada yada, something. It isn't rocket surgery. And ever since then, it has stuck out in my mind in the nearly 6 years that have passed since then. And speaking of a pass, that's a pass from Josh Wilkie, rather nicely played there. That was a 277 of Max Gamble. A swap-a-roo for the lead in Spec 2. In the process of all that, through goes Wilkie on Max Gamble, and now Gamble gonna potentially try and gamble to get another move done on Wilkie. Max, if you're tuning into this show, I apologize. No hard feelings. I'm a commentator. I'm going to see that opening and go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stevie Ray in the pits. So we can say the pit window is now officially open as we're on board here with Alexander Gorson working their way out of the dipper, down the hill, coming into the elbow. We're going to make somebody have a little incident here as they're coming through. Yeah, just too much speed coming through there. Easy to do. Loops it, managed to keep it off the wall, so he's going to have to wait till he gets some clear track, and there we go. Rejoin accomplished successfully. So, just lost about a bit of time there with that little half spin.
Yeah, simple half spin. Very lucky that wasn't a track blocker heading down in there, although it certainly can be in any spins around this track. We'll say getting rather dark, have some cloud cover going on. No threat about rain heading off into this race, unless iRacing has played us for a fiddle. Nothing on the radar, so I think we will keeping it clean between now and the end of this race. As that's Telker not keeping it clean. He kept it out of the wall, though, and decides to tow back to pit lane. I think he's called it a day after that moment. A half spin down into the final corner. Murray's corner, turn number 23 around this track, and fortunately it strikes again. Graham Hunt has also been struck by falling anvil in the 117. I think he's been marked as being out of this race. I'm not sure whether that was some sort of connection issue or if he has towed back to pit lane. I think he's still out there on the racetrack. I think his internet may have just briefly failed him. So disregard that comment I just made.
Yep. So interesting. We've got a nice little 7-car pack up here at the front. They've got them a nice 9-second or so gap over as we see Samoa's looking to the inside. That was a little close there. They came through the chase and makes the move to get back to the lead. And so it's just basically a nice big, leapfrog party up here amongst these top three. But they've got 4 other cars back there waiting to take any position they want to lose, as they do have that 10-second gap over P8. But it won't take much for that gap to close. Have one car up here making a mistake, and the further up, the more potential there is for disaster as they're getting that run. Tough still getting really good runs out of turn 1. Yeah, that was not as close as I thought, and that's Monty fighting with Wilkie. Oh, there's a little bit of contact as Wilkie kind of got forced onto the curb there by Jorg. Once again, not a place that you want to make a pass. I think that's attributed to the 10-second gap because it wasn't that much before. We've been kind of keeping an eye on it. It was about 8 seconds, but the contact there between Monty and Wilkie slowed that pack down, and so they'll have more. And they're still losing time, so maybe Wilkie might have got a little bit of damage from that as well.
I'm very happy to say that I don't think I've mentioned Josh's name more than a handful of times during this show. So if that is a commentator's jinx, it's not coming from me. So I can, I can wipe my hands clean of that moment there from Josh. Tough stuff heading down into the chase. The thing is with these Formula Fords, there's nothing about this car that is very easy to handle. Even the braking zones can be tough, as Alexander Gorson has made the call to come down pit lane. He's come in a little bit farther in the backslide of P18 as it stands right now. As one story that we've been keeping tabs on throughout this race has been the march up to the front for Maurizio Nazelli. P9 for the driver of the number 47 car, up 15 spots. 15, huh?
Yeah. He picked up 3 on the first lap, I think, and then that incident that was in front of him, I think he picked his way through 4 or 5 of those cars as well. So, he's had a little bit of help to make that, but obviously Maurizio, we've talked about him before, very, very fast driver. He does this frequently, so it's not like this will be outside the realm of possibility for him. So now he's on the back of Wilkie. He gets clear here. Looks like he's going to make this move now coming down Conrad. He's going to get this move done and get in front of Wilkie. And now he's got an 11-second gap to make up, and we're going to get to see how much power and what kind of lap times he can do from the front of this group because now there's nothing in front of him but open track.
So an open road in front for these racers. There's only one with an open road and an open view of the track ahead, and that is Sean Doyle, who still leads this pack of race cars. Doyle, Samoas, Tufts, Cash, Buchanan, Reese, and Ray, all covered by just about nothing. It's a serpentine as they head their way down the mountain straightaway off into turn number 2 in a couple of moments' time. 2 racers making that call to pit in the form of Jörg Mani and Jason Shen, as here comes a breakaway. 2 breakaways, in fact. That's Samoas trying to get the move done to jump into the race lead in front of Sean Doyle, as that's Christopher Cash battling hard right behind as well. That's P4 for Cash, P1 for Samoas. More racers coming down pit lane to join Alexander Gorson, who's still down in the pits. Not sure why he spent 50,000 years down in pit lane. I think we may have a Ricky Bobby situation going on there. His driver has gone out of the car. Alexander Gorson is presently eating a chicken sandwich, but Samoa is still running up at the front. Sean Doyle right there to pass, but right behind him is Felix Samoa's main championship rival of Daniel Tufts, as we take a look in a moment to see Jay Ray a stack up behind, and Jay Ray going to take advantage of that as Samoa's, not Samoa's, my apologies, Antonio Reese, Wolveronio going to lose it heading down into turn 2.
Yeah, he's kind of dropped off this group now, so it's 6-car pack, and then Antonio by himself. Unfortunately, that's going to make it tough. It's not something he can't overcome. If you get another checkup like that, he can pick back up the back of that pack pretty easily. As we're on board here, we've got Naselli, Wilkie, Gamble, McConnell, the second group of cars. Everybody doing their best to try and keep up with Maurizio and let him tow him along. And he's looks like he's starting to make up some time. I did look his last lap as he was making that move around Wilkie. He was the second fastest car on track. The only car faster was Doyle, the leader. So he's not making up time to the group, but he's not losing time to that front group as well. So he's kind of just running leader's pace.
Still keeping it honest, keeping it good pace-wise. That's a fake to come down pit lane. Sean Doyle made that turn. I'm not sure if he was trying to dupe anybody else into coming down pit lane or if he just wanted to give himself a minor panic attack. But either way, still out there on the racetrack is Doyle. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that that is not the good line heading down into the final turn. But one driver has made that call to pit, and that is Mr. Joshua Wilkie in that 777 car. He comes in from one of the top running spots in Spec to Max Gamble, now jumping into the race lead and all that in an absolutely stunning old Jordan Formula One scheme, the Benson and Hedges car. I'm not sure if we can name drop that sponsor, but I just did anyways. Felix Samoas jumps into the race lead over Sean Doyle. The squabbling, I think the reason why it's starting to get intense between these racers is because they know those pit stops are coming up rather soon, as the halfway mark is only about 20 seconds away, Charles.
Yeah, just almost at the halfway point of this race, and it's been probably a lot less attrition than I would have expected for Bathurst. And we're not sanctioned by F1 or NASCAR, so you can mention a cigarette sponsor if you want to.
Welcome everybody to the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, sponsored by Newport. Oh boy, that's not touching that one.
Yep.
I'm not sure if YouTube agrees with that. That's a good, oh boy, that was Felix Samoa as squirrely as he headed his way out of Skyline through into the dipper. I was just going to say, of anybody who should know what can and cannot fly on YouTube in terms of monetization, it should probably be me, because I picked up my monetization back in like March of 2023 with my own channel. I haven't gone demonetized on too many videos yet, keyword being yet. See, there's a certain filter that you have to have on broadcasts. It should make it quite clear that this broadcast is not sponsored by Newport cigarettes, but Samoa's now going to feel some pressure from Sean Doyle as he's looking to fight back down the Conrad straightaway, off into the chase, through into the race lead. Once again goes Sean Doyle, and now we got to see if any of these racers will make that call to pits.
Yeah, it's getting time. If somebody wants to try and undercut, I think now will be the time to do it. You got some pretty nice gaps in the traffic behind, so you should be able to slip in and be able to use the draft and make some moves. But so far, so good. Nobody wanting to test that. Obviously, Reese is in, so that's probably a good call. Antonio coming in now, he had lost the front draft and was probably losing a little bit of time to that group. So come in, get your stop done, get back out, find a draft partner, and see if you can pick up your lap time just a little bit, and hopefully can get without getting held up. And that's always the gamble, and not Max Gamble. But so Reese is in for his stop. He's going to drop down. Looks like he's going to drop down somewhere around where I think Jorg is in, so around 13th or 14th.
That was beautifully segued into that there, Charles. Well done on that Max Gamble mention. He's still running up at the front of Spec too, mind you. And there's your now Masters leader of Jeff Wubker in the 909 machine as he heads his way out of the turn. And that right there is Antonio Rees. It's not the smallest of gaps to himself and Jeff Wubker, so Antonio may have to work together a little bit here to try and catch up the draft. But, of all the situations for Antonio to find himself in, that's actually pretty all right. I wonder if these racers will potentially follow in suit. We'll say, if you see a couple of blinks from the number 12 machine of Jay Ray, he had a pretty big blink out coming out at turn number 1, hit about 88 miles an hour, and he was racing an old V8 supercar around here back in the 1970s there for a few moments. But Jay Ray still out there on the racetrack, slotted in 6th at the back of this pack that we got right now. Is that right? There was Samoas with a huge sideways snap heading off through there. You can tell that was close and dangerous heading off through that section of the track, because I briefly turned into a Broadway singer.
Yeah, it's and you mentioned that before, so he's maybe struggling a little bit there in the dipper section, and just maybe with the line or with his speed. Something's not right. He's not really handling that section well. As Tufts is going to get the run here, going to pick P2 back up. He should get this cleared pretty easily. He does so he's going to be behind Doyle there. As they come around again toward the end of the lap. So we'll see if there are any takers this time by to come in and get their pit stop done. So Antonio Reese, just to follow up, is only a half second behind Wubker, and we've got Sean Doyle in the pits as well as that's it. It just all changed there. I think some people may have crossed the pit line, but Doyle, the only one officially that's coming in for his pit stop.
Yeah, so Sean Doyle going to be all by himself coming down pit lane. The rest of those racers in that pack going to stay out for one more lap. We usually see it in situations like this. Very rare that you see a big pack of racers be like, you know what? I'm on exactly the same page as you. We're going to win this race together. That is a sense I don't think has ever been said before. These racers want to get the win, and there's no point of doing what everybody else is doing around you. As that's Chris Cash looking to get the move done on Felix Mounz and book it. He's through into P number 2. Chris Cash, who made his series debut only a couple of weeks ago at Long Beach, making his second start, I believe, here in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. This is a fantastic race from him up to this point, and hopefully that didn't just result in a really bad jinx, as I'm hearing as well. And looking at my live timing screen, you are very well to say that there, Mr. Guido Marzucchi in the production truck. A painfully long stop for your at 1 point race leader of Sean Doyle. He's now down in P at 12, 57.3 seconds down pit lane and 20.4 seconds down in the pit stall. That is disastrous.
Yeah, so just as a comparison, Reese came in the lap prior and has got a 4.5 second gap to Doyle. So, yeah, very slow pit stop. That's probably going to take him out of contention for a race win today, unless something dramatic happens, which we've had before. So we've seen all sorts of things happen here in these Weekend Warriors races. But short of maybe the one of the barriers breaking and all the cars fall off the side of the mountain, I think he's probably going to be out of luck for a race win today.
Yeah, I have a feeling that is probably going to be the case. Tough stuff for Doyle. He was in contention for the championship last season here in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, but getting some rather bad rub of the green towards the end, and just didn't really work out for him at the end of it all. Daniel Tufts was your champion in last season, and currently holds on to the fast lap of the race as it stands right now as well. Looking at the top 5, none of them going to make that call to come down pit lane on this lap. Now 25, coming up to 26 minutes in to this 40-minute long race here today on Slow Motion Broadcasting for round number 9 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. And this broadcast being made possible by the fine folks over at Sim Racers Group. And to all of you tuning into the show, remember to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. Michael McConnell has made the call to come down pit lane in the number 62 machine. Not really seeing a mass exodus of racers leaving the track and going into the pits. It's just a slow trickle as we've got Chris Cash trying to get the move done on Daniel Tufts. That's for the race lead, and Cash, the newcomer here in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors world, going to jump his way to the front.
Yeah, nice move. He's making the most of that run down into turn 2. He's picked up 2 positions over the last 2 laps, and McConnell in the pits now, as you mentioned. I think we're probably 2 laps away from everybody having to come in, so we'll start seeing cars coming in on this lap and probably the next one as well before I think the next lap after that, because it's such a long lap that we may have cars failing to finish. We don't need any Thompson trophies during the middle of the race. We'll save that for the last lap.
Yeah, we don't want ourselves a whole lot of Thompson trophies at the end of this race, because those cost quite a lot to get engraved and manufactured. Let me tell you that much. Jeff Webker now on pit exit. He's going to be exiting out with not the lead in the Masters class. Antonio Reese still holding on to it as it stands right now. But as we have this battle up at the front, I got to wonder, as we've asked this question over the past couple of laps, who's going to make that call to come down pit lane next? Will it be the likes of Cash? Will it be Tufts? If I had to place a wager, if I was a betting man, Charles, I'd probably be homeless. But if I could bet without putting any of my money on the line, I would say that P4 and P5 of Edward Buchanan and Jay Ray would probably benefit the most from making the call to pit, as that right there is a nice move from Daniel Tufts, just utilizing that draft hang down the Conrad straight to jump back up to the front. So it's now Tufts leading over Cash, over Samoa's Buchanan and Jay Ray. Samoa is one of only 2 racers at the moment here in this race that's still in it, mind you, to remain in the exact same spot that he was at the drop of the green flag. Rather surprising. The only other racer involved in all that is Max Gamble in that Spec 2 lead in P7.
Yeah, I think that it's good that I was going to shout out Buchanan and Ray as Naselli's coming into the pits. So he's going to come in and relinquish P6, get his stop made. I think those guys actually have been pretty content to just kind of ride at the back of this pack. So I think those may be the ones that run a little bit longer. But I think they've probably saved a little bit of fuel over the course of this run. Gamble and Adrian also in the pits now. So we've got the top 5, and I think that's it. So only the top 5 have yet to make their stops. So we'll, like I said, I think it's going to be this lap, potentially next lap, if maybe Ray and Buchanan have done well to save fuel. But we're coming up on it right now with 25 minutes gone in the race.
Still a decent amount of time left to go between now and the checkered flag. Only less than 11 minutes, though. So it may not seem like a whole lot of time, but it can be a lot around a track like this. Not a lot of laps left to go for these competitors. So certainly getting into crunch time, these racers will have to think about that run through the pit lane. And once we do, then it's going to get really, really spicy. Let's take a look at a moment involving Stevie heading down into the chase, and he goes off the track. I think that's Graham Rory Hunt right behind. That's going to follow in suit, bringing a little bit of gravel out there on the racetrack. You know, I'm honestly shocked, Charles. We haven't seen parts of this track get absolutely coated with what we called a couple of weeks ago the corkscrew crunch. I feel like we need to come up with a new name for it for all the different racetracks that we go to.
Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, it's there because I think there's only really a couple of, and that's they're into the end of the race, end of it, as Chin has now inherited the Spec 2 lead, running in P10. And I think there's only really a few gravel traps, and it's toward the end of the lap. Out here, if you come out here on this one, you've got time to get some of that removed through the grass before you get back on the track. So maybe not as much of the issue. There's 2 cars coming in. We've got Samoas and Ray coming into the pits, and that leaves Tufts, Cash, and Buchanan out on the track for another lap. And this has got to be the last one. We're almost at 31 minutes. I can't imagine them going much beyond that.
You know, I would not be too shocked if we see at least one of them try and throw something at the wall to see what sticks. I'm a little bit surprised, though, to see that call to pits from Felix Samoas. If it works out well, I'm sure he's going to be smelling like a bed of roses. As we said right before he grabbed the green in this race, he's looking to try and still hold on to that big gap that he has at the top of the Spec 1 championship, but also try and stifle the momentum from Daniel Tufts as we got off into the final few rounds of this season. As that's a moment from Graham Rory Hunt at the top end of the track, loses it through there, gets that rear end squirrely and noses it into the wall. So that's going to take Graham Rory Hunt out of contention as a black flag for Jay Ray. I believe that was a pit lane penalty. Not sure if that was an unsafe exit or speeding in the pits penalty, but either way, no matter how you slice it, Jay Ray going to have to come in and serve a black flag. That's not going to be a good moment at all. But I look a little bit farther behind, Sean Doyle in front of Antonio Reese. Interesting.
Yeah, and it's only 0.2 of a second, so very tight there. These may be the guys that are in front when the rest of the pit stops are done. But yes, Doyle in front of Reese. Okay, you know what? That's actually kind of odd. I wonder if something happened to Reese. I'm looking down the list here. I don't see anything. His last lap time was a little bit off from the lead pack. It's kind of odd. So we'll figure that one out. Maybe we can find a replay or something that might show something. But yeah, it's going to get that probably speeding on exit for Ray. It's going to come back down and serve that. Unfortunate. And then we should have the leaders coming in this lap as they come down the Conrad straight through the chase.
So let's see if they're all going to come down pit lane in unison, if we're going to have one or two decide to break away from the trend and stay out for one more lap. Not a lot of time left, and all of them going to flood into the pit lane. Through into the pits goes Tufts, Cash, and Buchanan. There's Felix Samoas running all by his lonesome. No draft assistance, so that will not help him out on this warm-up lap as Jay Ray, with a mistake, I think he's going to drop down behind Sean Doyle. He's very slow at the present moment in that 12. machine, but we keep our eyes on these racers who have come down pit lane. That front six pack has broken up a little bit, to be sure, but here we go. Felix Moes heading his way down into turn number 23. Daniel Tufts, Chris Cash, and Buchanan still down in pit lane right now. They're still stopped in their pit stall. Samoa is going to go onto that start-finish straightaway. They have a slightly shorter run on pit exit. Will any of them be able to get out in front? They're all out and away in unison, but I think Samoa may be able to jump in front of at least two of them. He hasn't been able to jump in front of Tufts, though. Now we've got a battle at the front of the field between the two championship rivals heading off into the final few weeks of this season. Samoa's and Tufts gonna battle it out. Heading through the mound straightaway, Samoa's gonna blow past Tufts. Tufts now tucking back into the draft. He's gonna look again for a move down the inside to two, side by side for the championship rivals. Through into the race lead once again goes Daniel Tufts. It's worked out all right for him for the strategy. Not working out too great for Chris Cash and Buchanan. They've lost out a little bit of time, but as it stands right now, it's a two championship rivals and the two racers that have spent pretty much the entirety of this race up at the front, right where they belong, up at the front still.
Yeah, and Chris Cash is just at the edge there. So if these guys continue to swap the lead back and forth, he's got a chance to get back up there and stick his nose into this conversation. So we'll keep an eye on that as he's like 1 second back, so he's really close. Buchanan another second and a half behind. It's going to be very difficult for him to catch back up, but they've got a nice 5 second gap over Doyle. Doyle sitting there in P5. He doesn't have much of an opportunity to make up the time here. Ray sitting there, still's got the black flag, hasn't served that yet. He'll drop out. So Ree sitting there in the virtual P6 as we get Samoa's off the Falcon wall, and looks like a pretty flat hit. So don't know that damaged his car at all. I'm looking to see if I see anything like a broken suspension. It looks like everything's straight. So crisis averted there for Samoa's.
Yeah, so Felix Samoa is still running up at full song in the draft. We'll have to see once he gets off into the tight and twisty sections of this lap to see whether or not he will begin to lose a little bit of time. Looking at the moment riding on board of Samoa, still looks like that car is running rather straight and true. Is his wheel slightly off to the side? No, it looks pretty all right from Samoa. So I think he may have gone away with one there. A square hit into the outside wall as he came out of Forrest's elbow. That section of the track, we talked about the Conrad straightaway being named after a point of failure on a car. Talk about Forrest's elbow, named after a guy named Forrest who scraped his elbow on that wall. As Kevin Adrian, he's had a moment through that section of the track. I'm pretty sure he probably had major front end suspension damage already before that took place, but tough stuff for him. But here we go. Tufts and Samoa's back again battling. Here we go again.
Yep, back up down the straightaway. They're going to battle, and this might be the best thing for Cash. As we're hearing white flag next time by, is they don't. So if Samoa's backs out, allows Tufts to take that, because obviously that would allow Cash to pick up quite a bit of time there. And it's going to be one of those when they start going side by side through corners, is going to allow Cash to get back up there and jump into the middle of the battle.
I think this is going to be a monumental finish here for round number 9 of the Formula 4 Weekend Warriors here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Bathurst has treated us pretty well up to this point. Hasn't treated some of the racers too well, as currently of the 24 starters, only 18 of them still running out there on the racetrack as it stands right now. It's been a tough test of these drivers' patience, their tenacity, and their skill behind the wheel of these tough-to-handle Formula 4s, but we have got ourselves a grandstand finish to look forward to here. Daniel Tufts leading Samoa's over Chris Cash. Cash, who made his series debut a couple of weeks ago in Long Beach, he's there to pounce. As look at Samoa's catching up to Tufts as he, whoa, boy, Samoa's having a saw at the wheel as he ends his way down the hill. I was just going to note Tufts with a huge moment a couple of moments before then hit the wall and got really squirrely. Chris Cash now going to be there to pounce as Samoa is still trying to get his bearing straight. Look at Cash pulling out to try and get this move done. side by side as they head their way up the hill. Oh, they come to blows. That's a huge crash from Cash and Samoas. That'll give P2 to Buchanan. They come to blows. Tufts on track for a victory now. Cash on track for a DNF, and Samoas with a meatball flag as well. That is a huge moment for Samoas, and that is a breath of relief for two reasons. Number one, it just about ensures a victory from Daniel Tufts, but number two, that may have just been that swapperoo in that championship fight. The white flag in the air, one more lap of racing action. Daniel Tufts, in terms of that championship fight, he just got the biggest assist in the world.
He did indeed. Yeah, it was just really close battling coming down through the chase, and I think the wheels overlapped, and we're going to get a replay here as we see Cash moving to the right-hand side. Samoa's giving him the room, and then start sliding over to try to open that. Oh, just the wheel-to-wheel contact there. I think he was trying to keep Cash pinched down to the inside to make the chase a little bit more difficult to navigate, and you saw the contact there. So tough break for Samoas and Cash as well. So they're both out of the race. They're down in 17th and 18th.
Yeah, and that is just about
got a
going
black
to be
flag on top of his meatball, so that's bad to worse.
Yeah, that is just about game over for the both of them. I would not be shocked at all if Felix Samoas just decided to call it a day. I mean, frankly, with the spot that he's in at the present moment, the only racer he would be able to finish in front of would be Christopher Cash, and come time for the end of this race, they're probably going to be still towing back to pit lane. So that is a huge kick in the shins for Felix Samoas, who entered this race with a rather comfortable gap in that championship. He entered this stretch of the season, the second half of the season, with a rather comfortable margin at the top of Spec 1. However, this man, Daniel Tufts, has been a menace as of recent. We think about last season. We talk about it at length every single week for these shows, how Daniel Tufts was able to jump into that spot to win the championship in Season 2, despite not getting a single win. Even when he won it, he didn't even grab a single win. So fantastic stuff from him as, we're hearing that Antonio Reese has had a crash at the top of Masters, right at the top end of the track. Let's see, that's Sean Doyle right in front with a lockup right in front of him. And let's see as Reese heads his way down to turn number 17 and to 18 right now. Force elbow, Doyle spun, and Reese nowhere he could have done him. Bang! Into the side of him. He's gonna go heartbreaker there from Antonio Reese right at the end of this race. But Daniel Tufts, he was winless last season. He's now going to enter the final 3 rounds of this championship with not only 6 wins this season, but a pretty darn good shot of winning the championship as well. There's a checkered flag for Daniel Tufts. It's 4 in a row. Win number 6 at Bathurst, and he gets a job done over Edward Buchanan in P2. Antonio Reese, despite his car driving like a hoopty rod, going to round out your overall podium and win it in Masters yet again. Maurizio Nazelli, the hard charger by a country mile. He finishes this race in 4th, 20 spots gained from the drop of the green flag through to the fall of the checkered. That's a brilliant finish in Spec 2. It's going to give it to Jason Shen at the end of it all there over Spec 1's Michael McConnell. Holy cow, Charles. I mean, we were expecting that to be dramatic, and I'm not sure whether it was a moment with Samoas, the brilliant drive from Maurizio Nazelli. That was a cooker of a race.
It really was, and it's exactly what you expect from Bathurst. You're going to see some tight battles on the track, and you're going to see some crashes and some incidents. We didn't have a major one, so that's good. We did have a couple of cars getting contact with each other. But no just major pile-ups on the mountain, which is always, like I said, it's always a risk when you come to this track. But great job up front. Tufts hanging in there and getting the race victory. Buchanan, obviously, getting the benefit of some other people's misfortunes to pick up P2. And Reese, with contact and a wreck coming out of Forest Elbow, still managed to limp it around and finish in 3rd. And then Naselli, I mean, what can you say? It's some drivers are just good, and I think there might have been a little luck involved in Naselli's navigation through some of these incidents, but overall, great race by him. Doyle gets a P5. So Tufts, actually, this is going to have, like you said, major championship implications. It's going to really tighten that championship battle up between Tufts and Samoas.
Yeah, that is going to give us a brilliant final 3 weeks to talk about here in Season 3 of 2025. Looking ahead, Sonoma, Oschersleben, and Donington Park to follow for the final 3 rounds of this championship. And we're going to have 2 of the best in the Weekend Warriors world duking it out for that championship at the end of it all as well. There's Bob Cohen, the I believe a newcomer to this series, rounding out your cars, taking the checkered flag in this race. P17 for him at the end of a somewhat troubled afternoon for that Masters racer. But as we take a look around this stunner of a racetrack and recover after a stunner of a race, we'll get those results loaded up for you in just a couple of moments time and let you know that it may not be his first win of the season. It may not be his last for all we know, but it's probably the most important. Daniel Tufts gets win number 4 in a row for him here. It's been an awesome stretch of races. One at Laguna Seca, one at Long Beach, he won at VIR, and he wins it here at Bathurst for round number 9. He wins over Edward Buchanan. I don't think we talked about Edward Buchanan at all towards the end of that race, but he walks away with a P2 at the end of it all. Fantastic result from the Canadian behind the wheel of that number 5 machine. Antonio Reese wins it in the Masters category yet again with his rather comfortable gap heading off into this race. And win number, I'm doing the math in my head, that's win number 8 for him thus far this season. I'm rather confident in saying Antonio Reese already has one hand, if not both hands, on that championship trophy here for Season 3. But he walks away with P3 at the end of this race. Another Masters win. Maritza Nazelli will finish this race in 4th. Sean Doyle is classed in P5 at the end of this as well. It will be Jurg Mani finishing this race in P number 6. Jason Chen wins it in Spec 2 yet again. He's classed in P7. Michael McConnell finishes in 8th. Max Gamble is classed in 9th, with Josh Wilkie running at your podium of the Spec 2 racers and running at your overall top 10.
Yeah, Jay Ray finishes in 11th. Stevie Ray rounding out the podium for the Masters class, finishing in 12th. Jeff Webker just missed, finished in 13th. Paul Jackson 14th. Chris Cash, we talked about him in the final couple of laps there, finishing in 15th. Jeff Browning 16th. Bob Cohen finishing in 17th. As we scroll up the order, Felix Samoas, I believe, is going to be classified in 18th. Kevin Adrian will finish in 19th. Graham Hunt finishes in 20th. Alexander Gorson finishing in 21st. Russ Telker in 22nd. Peter Maddox in 23rd. Juan Garcia finishing in 24th. And John Toms did not take the start. He'll be classified in 25th.
And so those are your results at the end of this race. Round number 9 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, and a fantastic race to boot as well. Looks like we have some drivers up there in the broadcast booth excited and willing to have a chat with us. I'll tell you what, we have done a very good job here at Slow Motion Broadcasting in terms of restacking the snack supply that we have in the interview waiting areas here on the SNB Discord channel. But I think we'll get the interviews kicked off and rolling by having a chat with our Spec 1 winner at the end of this race, Daniel Tufts, joining us here in the broadcast booth. Daniel, welcome in. It's your 6th win this season, your 4th in a row, and a rather important one as well here at Bathurst. How about you talk us through it?
Yeah, it was. You're racing the track as much as anything else. All the racing happens like on the straights, and then you're just everywhere else. Just keep that rhythm going on the hard bits. So it was an interesting race. I don't really know what happened behind with Chris and Felix. So yeah, kind of lucky with them, I guess.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and this is honest, it looked like the two of them tried to merge together heading down the back straightaway, and you don't need to be a physicist to know that that usually does not work on iRacing or real life for that matter. So that's what happened there. It was a pretty nasty crash behind you coming towards the end of this race. I want to ask you, though, about this race as a whole, because outside the final couple of laps after that crash with Samoas and Cash behind you, you were in the midst of the battling from the drop of the green all the way through to the fall of the checkered. How about you tell us the nerves behind the wheel, just being involved in battle after battle, lap after lap, around a track where it's basically, if you trip up one time, you're probably going to smack a wall.
Yeah, I tried to keep all the battling to the straights, and everything else was just like concentration, just making sure we had enough gaps on the dipper, especially on the dipper. It's like everyone bunches up there, and it's such a tight corner, but you can go through it really fast if you get that line right, and it's just a lot of concentration.
I can imagine a massive amount of concentration here. I mean, Bathurst, it's a track that I love, but as Charles said in the keys to the race right at the top of the show, this track is very much like Australia in the sense that there is a whole lot of stuff around here that will kill you. So lucky to say that you did survive the race, and also very fortunate to say that you got the win here as well. It's your 6th win of the season. We got 3 more races left to go, and with that moment for Felix, I think it's going to be a heads-up championship battle between you two. So I want to ask you about the championship fight as we get to the end of this season.
Yeah, I've been trying to focus on consistency because I had a bit inconsistent. I was a bit inconsistent in the first few rounds, right? So it's just been coming towards me each race. So, yeah.
Hey, building the forum and peaking at the right time in this season, it's a good strategy and it's working out well for you here, Daniel. I want to ask you about Sonoma in 1 week's time. That is a track that is basically never used on iRacing, but that's going to be a rather interesting one to look forward to in 1 week's time.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I've been there. I don't know if we did it in Formula 4s ever, but I used to do a reasonable amount in skippies, and I can get a flow around there. Depends on the layout. There's so many layouts there, I can't remember which one we were doing.
That is a very good question that he raised to me as well. I've just got down in my notes as Sonoma. Let me see if I have it. The NASCAR long layout. So I guess we're going to be using the carousel version. On iRacing, even with them naming the various configurations of Sonoma, I can never get which one is which. But I believe that's the one with the carousel. So the tight and twisty in the mid part of the track.
Okay, I think I don't know. It's been so I just haven't raced it for so long. It'd be hard to tell, really.
Certainly some practice going to be needed before you head off to that race in 1 week's time, and try and look to get back-to-back championships here on the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. But Daniel, well done on the win here at Bathurst. We'll let you give any thanks or shout-outs before we let you go and celebrate.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for you for broadcasting. The new sponsor, I can't remember the new sponsor for sponsoring the championship, because it's a good championship and we hope it keeps going.
And that would be the fine folks over at Sim Racers Group, and you can catch those series on Tuesday and Wednesday nights here on Slow Motion Broadcasting as well. But Daniel, thank you for joining us here in the booth. Well done on your 6th win of the championship, and looking forward to seeing you out there at Sonoma in 1 week's time.
Thanks.
And that right there was Daniel Tufts, your winner at the end of this race. And Charles, we got some more drivers out there, so I'll let you have second dibs on who you want to have a chat with.
Let's bring in Jason Chin, our Spec 2 winner, and we'll have a conversation with him. Jason, congratulations on another Spec 2 victory. You didn't get the greatest qualifying. You were a little bit down in the order, but obviously you raced it pretty well today. How do you think it went for yourself?
Well, thank you. Well, the qualifying, I actually didn't do any practice, like in the practice session for this race or like this entire week. So qualifying was my practice, and the quali was like the lap I ended up putting together towards the end of the quali was actually pretty good, since I didn't have any draft for the entire quali, which I didn't really care about the draft this time because I was just learning the track, and if I was in the draft at some point I'd probably just lose it because I was still experimenting with some of the turns. And so I think, in my opinion, 11th or the lap time I said in quali was pretty good, considering like no practice plus no draft. And then the race, kind of I was in the second pack again, I think, and there's a lot of fighting, and Jörg Money and I were in the same voice chat, and after we both got shuffled to the back of the train, I was like, what is Money was previously asking, is the pit window open, and it was just opened. And I was like, I asked him, Imani, are you pitting? And then when I was asking that, I thought it was like, wait, if we pit at the same time, we can probably work together and be faster than this train that was like fighting a lot. So so I asked him that, and so we pitted the same lap, and we were like working together afterwards, we're telling each other like if we're going for a move or not, like trying to go fast. And I think we jumped pretty much everyone in the train. They all came out like in the middle or behind us, and so that worked out pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna pick a draft partner, Jorg is probably a good one to pick. He's always quick everywhere we go. Obviously, not really as active as he's been in the past, but still really good racer. So yeah, I think you had the right call there. So next week we are going to Sonoma. Have you had any experience with that track? And what are your thoughts?
No, I bought that track for this league for next race. I haven't done any laps there yet, so we'll see.
There you go.
Probably won't be fast.
Yeah, you'll get it. It's very much a rhythm track. Lots of elevations, some pretty tight corners, but once you get into the rhythm, I think you're going to be okay, Jason. Well, congratulations again. Another Spec 2 victory this year. You're just kind of cleaning house as you have been, and we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before we let you go.
Yeah, this time I should give a shout out to Ed Buchanan, fellow competitor in this league, because so the videos he does on YouTube, the weekly track guides, with the setup he makes, I've been using that for like probably close to a year now. I have to make some adjustment to them to make it more drivable for me, because Ed likes a really pointy, really sharp car, and I can't deal with that, so I tune in a bit of understeer. But I think I use his setup as a great baseline. I should give him a shout out since he's been helping me a lot, and haven't given him a shout out in the past.
Well, there you go. So thank you very much, Jason. Congratulations again, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there was Jason Chen, our Spec 2 winner at the end of this race. And let's have a chat with a man who came across the line in a wounded car to grab yet another Masters win this season.
Wait.
Antonio Reese joining us now in the broadcast booth. Antonio, welcome into the booth.
Hello, guys.
Guido, Antonio again here in the broadcast booth. We'll have to get a key cut for you so you can come in whenever you want. Because
I was missing you. I didn't see you for a long time.
been a very long time, my friend. How was it out there?
Yeah, very long time. That was good. I was a little bit worried on the beginning. This track is so dangerous, and I was really kind of go slow, go safe, but still I couldn't avoid hit someone on the second corner on the lap, I don't know, lap 5 or something. But then I lost the draft. Then I have to also save fuel, because my fuel it put a little bit less than I need. And then I catch, I don't remember, I think was, I don't know, I don't remember, but then I keep lifting and let him pass, and then I just follow him to save fuel. And then then something happened, Felix, I don't know, other guys crashed, then I finished third without knowing how. Yeah, I also did.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that. Guido brings it up on the production truck. You had your own little moments right towards the end of the race, a bit of contact right towards the end.
Yeah.
So that car had to have been feeling a bit sour towards the end, wasn't it?
Yeah. The car was really slow, and I was thinking that Nazelli would pass me because the car have no speed. It was really slow, but I was surprised that I still could finish ahead of him. I don't know, wow. But that spin in front of me, I didn't expect he was spinning there, but wow. I was surprised, so it catch me by surprise, so I have no time to react. So I try to avoid, but still touch, then get some damage. Yeah,
Well,
guys.
it's
Thank you,
happening.
Guido, for catching that.
And Guido doing a fantastic job catching all of the drama that went on around this racetrack here today. But looking ahead to next week, Antonio, Sonoma. Not a track that you see a lot of on iRacing. I'll ask you firstly if you have that track, and secondly,
No.
what are your thoughts heading off to it if you are?
You know, a white handkerchief means means bye bye. I'm not going to race. I don't have the track Sonoma. Yeah, I will skip this next week on the Formula Ray, but I will be doing the spec and the Formula V at least.
Yeah, so it's kind of like an inverse of this week because you don't own Magny-Cours this weekend, so we didn't see you in the Formula V's,
Yep.
and I don't believe we'll see you in the Spec Racer Fords. Next week,
No.
we won't see you in the FFs, but we will see you in the V and the SRF.
Yes, you're right.
And good news to the ears of Guido and the production truck. So we'll have a chat with you
Yeah.
at the very earliest next week, Antonio. But as usual,
So
we'll let you give your thanks and shout outs before we let you go.
yeah, thanks for you guys for the broadcast and all the fun you do with broadcasting, and Steve Ray for and all the guys helping Steve Ray, and for my family supporting me as well, and also for the sponsor. I have a new sponsor for the last 4 weeks on the weekend on the Ray car, and for the drivers, the great community of Weekend Warriors drivers. I was just talking with Joshua. We have a great moment before the interview. He was on Discord together, and also for the viewers, don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe.
There you go, man. A true professional, Antonio. Thank you for joining us here in the broadcast.
Thank you, guys.
Well done on the win, and looking forward
Thank
to
you very
seeing you
much.
out there on the racetrack at some point soon.
Yeah, at some point soon. I always happy to see you guys. You make my day. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Okay,
the
see you
very
guys.
kind words
Take
there,
care.
Antonio.
Yeah,
Take care,
bye
man.
bye.
Have a good one. And that right there was Antonio Reese, your Masters winner. I'll tell you what, I had a brief panic attack there because I heard the noise that is made whenever someone joins in on the Discord server during that interview with Antonio. I've gotten enough moments to think that was Adam joining us in the booth. I was expecting a meow into my ear. As it turns out, Josh isn't here, so we'll have him as the little spy here at the end of this broadcast, Charles. As we switch ahead to next week and think about Sonoma, lots of storylines heading off into it, chief among which is something that I learned at the end of the Formula V race yesterday with Josh on the call for that one. Felix Samoz is not going to be here this next week, so talk about a championship battle heading off into the final few rounds. That's going to make it even more intense.
It is going to make it more intense. That is going to really shift the championship standings with Felix not being here. Sonoma, there's similarities to Bathurst, and there's elevation changes, lots of pretty tight corners, but there's plenty of runoff there. It is primarily used for NASCAR and in IndyCar, so lots of grassy areas to recover before you end up into a wall. So it's going to make for a challenging race, as you said. Very, very lightly used in iRacing. It shows up on the NASCAR calendar once a year when they kind of sync that up with the normal road race that the real life drivers use, and probably shows up on the IndyCar calendar as well at the same time as the IndyCar is there. But for the most part, it's very, very sparsely used. But it's a fun track, and it is very much a rhythm track. Once you get the rhythm down for it, it's quite fun to drive. But there's still plenty of room for mistakes out there. So it'll be an interesting race to put these drivers under that type of stress so late in the season.
Yeah, certainly going to be a stressful race there at Sonoma as well. These racers with a lot on their minds. Some looking to steal some championships, others looking to steal some championships at the end of this season here in 2025. And to all of you tuning into this broadcast on Slow Motion Broadcasting, we have got a lot of action to look forward to week in and week out here on SMB. Coming up later on this afternoon, we'll be able to bring you round number 9 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. They'll be running at Magny-Cours and talk about a draft fest Holy cow, that's going to be a lot of fun. American Muscle Series going to be running the 4th round of their championship this upcoming Tuesday at 9:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Same day as the Sim Racers Group F4 Series. They'll be running their 10th round of the season at VIR, and the day after, we'll be seeing the F3 action from Sim Racers Group at Suzuka. Of course, Sim Racers Group, the sponsor of the rest of the season here from the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. So we'd like to thank Jason Kocher, Tyler Hagan, and the whole crew over there for making these broadcasts possible. And to all of you who've hit that subscribe button here on SMB as well, thank you to all of you who've done that thus far. SMB continuing to grow. We broke that 1,000 barrier not terribly long ago, rapidly knocking on the door of 1,200. Hopefully we can hit that before the end of this iRacing season. But as for this broadcast here, for round number 9 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors here at Bathurst, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi doing a wonderful job working on the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all for that Spec Racer Ford race coming up later on this afternoon.